experiment. The formal education system, 757 university, more than 49,000 colleges, providing something around 38 lakhs graduates and postgraduates, 27% are only employable. It means 73% are non-employable. How can a system sustain? It's not going to sustain, it is going to collapse. We realized, all the intelligent people realized, in the process, we forget to provide skills. Therefore, we created a Ministry of Skills, NSDC, NSDA. They started talking about skills, and forget to provide knowledge. Look to Uber experiment. He's going to provide 1 million drivers, if I'm right. And we all know, with the advent of the technologies, driverless cars are going to come, maybe not 5 years, maybe 10 years. What is going to happen to these drivers? What is going to happen to these drivers? 3 months of skilling, and you leave the person for rest of his life. It's not good. I think it's another blunder. We have a supply side department, Ministry of HRD, Ministry of Skill Development. We have a demand side ministry, Ministry of Infrastructure, Ministry of Industry, and the demand and supply did not match together. We have entered into an era of innovation where fast emerging technology are disrupting everything. Machines becoming intelligent, cities becoming smart, car becoming self-driving, robots are taking 1/5 of the job of the bank, and we still consider provide lower level skills. Oh my God, where are you going? When you provide lower skills to lot of masses, and suddenly the technology change, all these people are going to be unemployed. What are you doing? What happened in the process? We forget to marry. We are 69 years old independent organization. The education system forget to marry with the skill. And forget to marry with the demand. We have done a system of supply-based side. We forget demand side. So what MIT has done, innovative experimentation. We look to demand side. Look to what exactly the demand in the most important construction and real estate sector, not only India but globe. What type of professionals are required, and collaborated with an organization called RICS, Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyor in 2013. They are the professionals, we are the academicians. We allowed them to enter into the classroom. We agreed with them that you prepare the curriculum because you know the demand. You know what exactly the skill requirement is going to be there. You know what is going to be the knowledge requirement. You know what type of soft skills are going to be required. So knowledge plus a skill plus soft skill, all together we call competency. So we institutionalize a system called competency-based and make sure that when we are providing knowledge, we don't forget to provide a skill. When we provide a skill, we don't forget to provide soft skill. All the three are important. So it is competency-based. So they designed the curriculum. They delivered the curriculum into the classroom. The examination system is geared to test the competencies, and then what we could provide is the miracle. Our 100% students become employable, not only in India, but globally. This experiment was put before other industry bodies. It has been put before CII, it has been put before FICCI. CII came forward. They said that GST is coming and logistics sector is going to boom like anything. So CII, School of Logistics, and industry-led academic institution came into picture, where they come from demand side. The third very interesting development happened. The most important, most respected industry of the country, a big conglomerate, Tata's, they partner with MIT University and see what is going to happen. They said they are working in UK, they are preparing the Jaguars, they are preparing the Land Rovers, They are consultant to the almost whole of the OEMs in the world. They know what exactly is the demand. So they will make the curriculum. And curriculum will be competency based. So they made the curriculum. Second thing, they find that the technology is fast changing and academia is not able to assess those technologies while industry can have. So the curriculum is designed as futuristic. If 4 years it takes by engineers to graduate, so 4-year advanced curriculum is designed. The third thing they have done, the industry part of the curriculum is going to be delivered by them, while academic part is going to be delivered by academic professionals, both together at the same place. Fourth thing they have done, testing of those students. Knowledge is tested traditionally like examination system, but competencies are going to be simultaneously tested by an independent international assessor, so that we understand the credibility of those assessments. And fifth thing is very interesting. They said that a young brain is very, very fertile. Young brain come with a lot of idea. If those ideas can be mentored by talent of the industry, people like Mr. Pai, probably we can create the best innovator chain. So this mechanism has been institutionalized by MIT University in collaboration with the Tata Technologies. And what exactly the second phase, which is very interesting to Dilip and to other people. We are going to create these university, and MIT run at present 8 university in India and 2 university abroad. We are going to create university as the hub of this industry academia collaboration, where the knowledge plus skill all going to be together with the incubator. This incubator and all those competence centers are going to create a pool of mass trainers, and these trainers are going towards all polytechnics, all engineering colleges spread over. So knowledge is going to be provided from the university side, and training is going to be provided there at the mass scale, so that we create a competent people for India. And these people are going to be the globally competent, because they are going to be tested on global parameters. And this is a new innovation which I would like to bring to your knowledge. And this way, industry and academia both are marrying together to produce right type of professionals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Srivastava. Now we'll have Mr. Manish Kumar, CEO, NSDC. And we heard in the secretary telling us the fabulous job they've been doing right now.
Thank you very much. Integration of education with skills is important in my view, because just as the industry is able to discriminate between different levels of education and then price a person accordingly, it should be able to do the same when it comes to skill competency. That doesn't happen as we observe currently. So the issue is about creating an ecosystem whereby you create the opportunity for the industry to understand how different skills compare, or skill levels compare, and how would you price people who come at different levels of it. My esteemed speakers before me have already spoken about some of the frameworks that the government is working on, which includes NSQF, National Skill Qualification Framework, and also National Credit Framework, both of which will enable this to occur. It will also give opportunity to students or to skilled personnel to move from skilling ecosystem to formal education system, and then back and forth. So creating the potential that he is not stuck to one of it, but goes to both whenever he wants to. So you basically increase his choice. However, my main focus of today's discussion is not, my talk is not about that. I personally feel that there is one particular issue which we need to address in a big way if we have to make this integration happen in real terms, which is about a need for behavioral change, which we normally don't speak about. I will spend a bit of time to look at the context in which this is important. As Mr. Pai has already said, historically, we have been a society which has prized education. In fact, if you look at skills, and to be a little provocative, we have had different types of skills in our ancient systems, but they have been compartmentalized and often across caste lines. Now, move forward down to when we got independent, we were focusing on two sectors, the primary and the secondary sector. That's the time when we found education taking a big leap. We have the IITs coming up. We also had ITIs coming up. The IIT essentially went to great heights. We have brilliant people from IITs across the world and an institution which is recognized globally. But when it comes to ITIs, it wasn't, that great an experiment. Now, moving forward, we notice also that I think at some point we felt that education in the masses was not enough, and we got into the national literacy mission, that at least the basic literacy is there with people. So that there was a time when that was a big thing. Eventually, there were a few things which happened, I think, which is the reason why skill has come to forefront. The first is the technological change, particularly with the internet coming in, and the whole thinking about what is skills changing, the whole ecosystem itself, and how you reflect about skills completely changing from the way we ever thought about it. The second was that we entered a very sweet spot, which is essentially a period of about 50 years in the life of a country, which for South Korea started in 1960, in China in 1980, a period called demographic dividend, where the number of people who are earning far exceeds the number of people who are dependent on earning. And this is about a 50-year period which occurs. Now, having entered that era, I think there's a realization that we need our workforce to be fully into doing something productive, because this is the time we can make a leap out from where the mass of poverty that we live in to something which is the next generation. And this has happened in other countries. So therefore, we have the opportunity before us. And we need, therefore, to make the best of it. Now, this is the time when you also notice skill coming up in a big way, particularly the private sector participation in skill, with a lot of support from government. And NSDC is actually doing its best in promoting this particular ecosystem. Few of the things which are important going forward for us to make sure that integration between education and skills happen and people have a proper perspective of it is to create dignity in the mind of people who go into skills, and they do not feel that this particular part of livelihood is something inferior. And for that, I think essential things, one is about advocacy. And we from NSDC, for example, we are planning about 500 community radios across India in the rural areas to promote values which are different from what we have today. And that's going to take time. Social norms don't change overnight, but you have to persist, you have to start at some point, and it may take a little time, but it does change. And we have seen that in our lifetimes. The second is there is a need for recognition of prior learning, and we are working on that. There are a lot of people who are good cooks, who might be good drivers, but don't have a certificate. Certificates do bring them pride. It also creates fungibility, that they could go to another employer if they wanted to, and that's something we are encouraging. But last thing, I think, very important, and in which I think everybody's support is essential, is the need to celebrate those who excel in skills. So, for example, on 15th of July, we had a Skill India competition. More than 4,000 or 5,000 people competing across India. Of them, about 80, the best of, let's say, people who are in carpentry, people who are in gems and jewelries, people who could be in beauty and wellness, everybody coming together in New Delhi and then competing, and we had finally the best among them. So these are the people who will go to the World Skills Olympics and will be representing us. If they win medals, if they win awards, it often goes unnoticed, and there have been people in the past who have done that. It's important to celebrate people who are in the skills domain, because that also brings respectability and changes the way society thinks about skills. So I think my time is up. I need to conclude here, but I've made all the points that I needed to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manish. I think for the skill winners, you must have chai with Prime Minister Modi. No, it's a very sufficient recognition, like you had this athletes going to the Olympics. They had tea with the Prime Minister, so that we create, we make them heroes, so people want to emulate. Now, of course, the only hero, the great hero, Sanjay himself.
Hello. So, thank you, Mohan. So I hadn't prepared for a speech because I was thinking this was like a panel discussion, so I was just sitting and scribbling notes. So I don't have a speech as such. It's mostly a bunch of collection of my own personal experiments with education. So just to give you a brief idea of what the kind of work I do, I'm very focused on engineering education. So my experiments are all on 5 million engineering kids in India across 3,500 engineering colleges, 18 to 22 years. I believe they are the future, so I'm experimenting with their lives. The only difference that I have, other than everybody sitting here, is that I'm lucky to have seen various layers of this whole system. So I directly work with colleges, so I go to students. I work with college management, so I interact with a lot of principals and head of departments. I sit on board of a university which has around 200,000 kids, the Kerala Technological University, and then I work with a couple of other universities like GTU and Anna University, a lot of students out there. And then, I advise around 3 chief ministers to understand what they are trying to do from a perspective of startups. I kind of work with Niti Aayog and DST, so I see what's happening there. I sit on the AICT's policy implementation board, and then I sit on the international board with Indo-US Science and Technology Forum. So from an international, national, state, university, college up to a student, I see this huge layer, and that's the only advantage that I have. And from that distant vantage point, the problem that we face is obviously engineers who can't engineer. 4 years of engineering, you've not engineered anything. So, and then no skills. So then the question is why? Why is this happening? And the answer is very simple. To get a skill, you need to do something, right? And just look at our education system. What do? We ask kids to learn, let's take a classic example of computer science. In a semester when they have a lab, the only thing that they're solving is 6 small problems. And in each of this problem is like, can you reverse like a palindrome? It's like small problems. But if you instead change that, and in that 6 months, just build if you solve just one single problem, end to end, the amount of learning you have is insane. But that just doesn't happen. And the second problem is the kind of questions we ask these kids, right? You're asking them every question in school and college has only one answer. It's like 5 + 5 = question mark. There is only one damn answer, 10. We never ask them question mark plus question mark = 10 because the number of answers are infinite. And then to measure these answers becomes simply problematic. So now fixing this education system, I tried different experiments. I'll tell you the latest ones that we are doing. Okay. So the first thing is we kind of figured out, so what is education, right? So education is like the joy of learning. Like who the hell goes to a school and saying, come, let's learn? Or who goes to a college and saying, I'm excited going to a college because today I'm going to learn something? Nobody wants to go. Like that's the fundamental problem. It's not anything else. Nobody wants to learn because there's something wrong in the way we're teaching. See, remember when we were kids, and you guys are old, so I'm just telling you how it's, how it was like when you were young. Just think about it, right? The first time you dived into a swimming pool, it's fun. The first time you shoot a basketball, it goes to a hoop, it's fun. The first time you balance a bicycle, it's fun. The first time you kick a football, it's fun. The first time your cricket bat hits a ball, it's fun. Everything that you learn is actually an experience. It's fun. But then that fun is somehow like taken away from the system. So the joy of learning is gone. So you got to bring experiential learning. And the second thing that keeps popping up is the speed of learning. Okay. So see, not everybody learns at the same pace. Okay. Some people learn fast, some people learn slow, some people are like an average. But we've got everybody bunched into this manufacturing model, batch of 2001, batch of 2002, batch of 2003, like what the hell? Right? It's like this big traffic jam where there are these really fast riders who can take the country forward, stuck with these really slow drivers or, creating this massive traffic jam. So there is a problem out there and the speed of learning has to change. And then the problem of the school education integrating into college. So I sit on the university boards, I'll give you a simple stat, right? So students learn physics and chemistry, average. So every first year engineering student has his exam, engineering physics and engineering chemistry. It's not anything major that you learn from school. Only 65% pass for both these subjects. So after like 12 years of learning, these guys again fail, 35% of the time. So we don't understand why, so something needs to be fixed there. And the fourth is, how do you get all of these things together going? So some of the few things that we are doing is, one, we figure out that in the new world of internet, there is no need to memorize anything, right? And in the new world of internet, the speed of change is insanely fast. So my father became an electrical engineer, worked in the electricity board for 40 years. It's the same knowledge he was reusing. But now it's compressing to like 5 years, 8 years, and it's super fast, right? So the speed of change is fast. So I believe that the education system, whatever we do, fundamentally needs to deliver three things. One is knowledge to gain new knowledge. So how do you empower these guys to continuously upskill themselves? Like we can't keep skilling them. They need knowledge to gain new knowledge. The second is skills to gain new skills. What are these fundamental basic skills that we can teach everybody that they keep reskilling themselves? Like forget all of us going and skilling them. And the third is experience to learn from experiences. See, all of us have this collective wisdom purely because of experience. It's not like you have this 20 years of experience, that meaning, if you've done the same year 20 times, you've just got 1 year of experience. You don't have 20 years of experience, right? The more experience that you add to a person, the richer his life becomes. The fundamental purpose of living becomes more meaningful. So to do all these three things together, our secret sauce is saying, let's all do startups, okay? Let's all learn from failures, because this is a big taboo, but anybody who's done something in the real world knows we all fail. And we tell kids, failure is bad. But how do we let kids fail and then relearn from that failure, bring things like teamwork, empathy and stuff like that, which is all what happens in a startup because it's super hard. And the cool thing about this is 90% of the kids fail. But that's absolutely fine because they've worked in the real industry, they're solving a real industry problem. All these kids are now amazingly skilled for the industry and getting great jobs. And this we are seeing live in the experiments that we're doing at Startup Village. And one key reason why we're getting some of the successful results is because of the faculty. See, what we've done is we've taken some of those brilliant guys who are working in the industry. So our lead faculty cost us 1 crore. This have you heard of SlideShare? So the guy who built SlideShare is the guy who's teaching, right? And this guy is like costing 1 crore. And he is the guy who is teaching smart engineering kids. So the quality dramatically changes, right? It's a dramatic change. And this change is what I think needs to scale. But then we can't have too many of these people scaling up. So what we've done is we've built this whole platform digital. So whether you're sitting in Kashmir or whether you're sitting in Trivandrum, it really doesn't matter anymore. All it matters is this high-speed internet connectivity that you have. And then the moment you trigger this curiosity, these kids are going to learn. Okay, then that's the only thing, because as a human being, when you're 14 to 18 years, when you're a kid, you're curious biologically. Okay, and here is my personal experience on this, right? To look at the speed of change. See, when I was a kid, when I wanted to have, when I was having my adolescent problems, or my growth stories, I would say, the first thing that we would want to get on porn is like a book. I needed like a book. Okay, it was super hard to get like a book. And then what happened, the cassettes came. Okay, and then very quickly from that cassettes, CDs came on porn. And then suddenly, when I was in college, internet came and, you had like porn all over the internet. A kid in 6th standard just goes to YouTube today, so, he starts searching stuff and he gets enough stuff, right? So the speed at which the access to information has gone has dramatically changed. And the moment you trigger his curiosity, which is inborn in everybody, we don't have to just skill it. The moment you trigger that curiosity towards learning, towards experiential learning, towards building real world, real problems, real stuff, the moment you make learning exciting for him, I think life is going to be super cool. So that's my experience on this. We've been doing some experiments on building out MOOCs. Everybody's been learning and talking about MOOCs, massively online courses. We've just built one. It's being rolled out in Gujarat Technical University. Some 30,000 students have signed up for it. It's a simple MOOC. So what we figured out is instead of like a 6-month elongated MOOC, it's like a 1-month course. The interesting thing about this course is it's split into small 15 chapters. Each chapter can be learned in 5 minutes. So we've seen students have not really learned online, right? So it's not like you go browse a website. To learn something is really interesting. So there are no exams. You're not trying to measure his knowledge out. You're trying to tell the kid, after you take this one chapter, which is like 5 minutes of learning, there is a multiple choice question which you can take infinite number of times. You don't need to copy. All you need to do is write this exam multiple times to see whether you understood the knowledge, right? And the moment you trigger that thing, instead of like an exam and a fear of exam, you're saying, the idea is to see if you understood it or not, right? The way the kid learned is like super nice and super amazing. So we don't have results on this, but maybe by next year we would have some solid results to show on that. And these MOOCs are all built with the Indian context. We need to Indianize this stuff. A lot of the MOOCs are heavily US oriented where the context is very different. And this is where this global exposure is so important. We've got to take the brightest kids in this country to Silicon Valley and show them what's happening. Okay, that is, I don't think there is no other way. I'll give you a classic example. See, there are three things that we can do in skills, okay? Like making coffee as a basic skill, right? You can do like a chaiwala, tea shop. You can do like a cafe coffee day. You can do a Starbucks. Effectively, all three are coffee shops. Okay, you're building coffee, but at a different level. One is like $10, $50, and $250, right? Now, the moment you build a coffee shop, you can do it in like, someplace like Palakkad, okay, in Kerala. If you come to Cochin, you can put a Starbucks. You can put a coffee day. If you put a Starbucks in Cochin, you're gonna run at a loss. If you put a Starbucks in Palakkad, you can, sell all your family heirloom. To put a Starbucks, you need to be in New York, right? Now, our amazing kid who's got this ability to build the next Starbucks, the honest fact is he doesn't know that he can do that. And, we can't create that ecosystem out there. It's like, a guy who's seen a pond can never understand what a sea is. You've got to take him and show him global exposure. The moment his brain opens up, and the moment you've done it with curiosity, and you've integrated this whole thing, I think magic is going to happen in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. That's pure magic. I'm going to ask each of these panelists a question and two great ideas, and then we'll open up questions for everybody. But first, I want Ashok to reply to two questions. That is, Ashok, you hire 50, 60,000 people a year. Do you see money being paid to people with a certificate greater than those without a certificate? That means to train people get more money than untrained people.
So, yeah, we hire 50, 60,000 people a year, and we train 50, 60,000 people a year who are not necessarily the same ones we hire. But one thing that we've clearly seen from companies is that if there is a skill that they bring to the table, and that skill is certified, then their willingness to pay more is clearly available.
So it's there.
It is there. So
The industry is actually willing to pay more, and you have got evidence for that.
Yeah, so we currently do multiple what we call HTD programs, hire, train, deploy programs, where a program is structured to the needs of the industry or the company. There is a certification at the end of that which the company dictates, and kids are hired, put through that training program, and on certification, employed by the companies that have put that program in. The starting salary for kids at that point is higher than what they would otherwise.
What is the premium?
So it ranges from 10 to 25%.
10-25%.
So
Now, how do you make this kind of thing across all industries so industry is willing to pay more for people with a certificate?
I think it's going to have to be over a period of time. One, self-interest. Two, the scale at reach aspect.
And are these people more productive? We got data to say they're more productive.
Early stage, but obviously we believe they will be more productive than otherwise, because take your own case, when you mentioned Infosys, you trained the person for 6 months. If you had got a trained resource and you could skip that 6-month cycle, the productivity of that person.
Yeah, but you never got it for 15 years. Now we don't get it. Okay, next question before we ask the skill university. You run a skill university. You are, I think, the first skill university, right? First skill university in India, right?
Yeah.
What has been your experience?
So primarily for us, the reality of starting the skill university was that we could determine the course, we could determine the curriculum, and we could make it industry specific. Also a realization that at the lower end of the economic strata, all kids are not going to be able to be on campus. They, like was mentioned earlier, the best experience and learning is experiential. So if they can be on the job, that's the best way to learn. So today, in the last 1.5 years of having the university, we've got 15,000 students who are learning on the job and effectively being able to earn while they are learning. They have a 200 hours of e-learning that is provided from the university. And this is not specific to a subject or to an industry or a function. This is general skills, which we believe will hold them good in any job or company that they go to. So a combination of learning on the job, the e-learning, and our belief is that MOOCs is the way to go with the relevancy structured from a reach and access perspective is how we are driving it.
So one day will you give a progressive farmer who's demonstrated a yield increase of 25-30% for 5 years in MBA in agriculture with a Viva because he may not know how to write? Are you willing to do that?
If the regulatory environment permits me, which is the Ministry of HRD, I'd be very happy to do it.
I think that brings a gap here which is very important for maybe Shabnam and Manish and everybody else, that we must recognize the stars who really work with their hands, who are productive, who demonstrated something about something else, and give them a formal certificate which will make them feel happy because they feel, I got an MBA in agriculture. They don't have to be hired by anybody in this room, it doesn't matter. But for that person and in society, that is a fantastic thing. Okay, now I'll ask quick answers from all the panel members. Give me 2 big ideas to bridge the gap between integration of education and skills. 2 ideas. And short ideas, no long ideas. Short ideas, Manish.
I think I spent a bit of time on ideas.
Yes.
So one is simply looking at the behavioral part of it
Behavior.
and how we work on that, which will essentially mean that we must have an advocacy campaign which changes the way we look at skills. We need to understand that we are in a stage of economy where tertiary sector is very important. We have a new technology which has come in and changing the world, and a new set of skill set which is coming in. So how do we change the way people think about skills? And when I talk of skills, there's a whole range of it, but it's the skills at the bottom, the ones which bottom of the pyramid mostly take interest in, which often carries negative stigma, which I think we need to remove. And I think that's one important one. The second one is to work on the formal systems such as the NSQF and the credit system, so that there is a possibility of seamlessly moving from the vocational part to the education and then coming back from education to vocational, as per your choice. So it could be me, it could be anybody else. But there should be a potential for that happening, and that's missing at the moment.
Oh, thank you. Shabnam, you are next.
Well, I somehow feel that I have, now that we are working in the skill sector very closely, that perhaps we are, it's a maligned sector. Somehow I get that feeling, because the targets are very steep and targets usually do not get met. So is it possible that we are a little modest in the targets and try to meet them with some quality outcomes, rather than, try to say that, okay, we train and we place 70% of the kids. It's not going to happen. 70% placement doesn't happen. So let's be realistic about what's going to happen. The other big thing which needs to be cracked is enhancing female labor force participation, because that 50% that we are not catering to, which is right now at 31% and which has been going down from 2005-6 by about 10% it has gone down, is something which we need to tackle.
Okay. Ashok?
So I think clearly leveraging technology as a variable to the aspect of learning becomes very essential, and to be a little controversial on the second, remove the regulatory framework that kind of restricts the element of structure that the education system has fallen.
So you're saying that it doesn't matter whether UGC recognizes or not, but do you get...
As long as the industry recognizes, that's enough. Okay. I think today the UGC plays too large a role and too conflicting a role in the overall scheme of the education framework.
Second one? 2 items.
Technology and UGC.
Oh, technology and UGC. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Manish?
Yeah, I would like to say that firstly the quality of assessment and certification, that needs a sea jump. I mean, that is the very crucial thing, because that what will create the credibility in the market for these skilled people. Like Mr. Reddy is saying that they actually command a premium, but I don't know how they position the people, so they are commanding a premium on the certificate, which is very good that they are commanding a premium. But once the quality of the assessment and certification is good, then and it is outcome oriented, then the industry will really go for the people who are having those certifications. So that will increase their social status as well as the value of the skilling. So that will, I think, what is important. And secondly, I agree that we need to look at the credit transfers frameworks also. so that there is a seamless movement between the skill and the formal education. So that is also important. Sanjay?
Right. So I think creating an integrated fast track for students from school to college and from college to the real world. So you don't need to really go through this 12 years of school and then go through another 4 years of college. You can go that way faster and it's integrated. And the second is
You mean you can do it in 8 years, 10 years, depending on what you want to do?
yeah. Huh? So you don't need to like really like go through this 12 years, right? Like if you're smart enough, do it in 8 years. Like what's stopping you? And you know, why do you need like 4 years, right? You could do it in 2.5 years, 3 years, depending on how smart you are. So you save a lot of time. That gives you a lot of time to experiment in your life, especially because you're young and you don't have too many responsibilities at that age. And the second is an outcome-based degree versus a theoretical-based, exam-based degree.
What does it mean?
It means what we're trying to do with the new AICT policy that, see, the whole idea of creating an engineer is to create a guy who can actually engineer something who is globally capable of communicating and doing something in the real world, right? But a theoretical exam is one way of measuring it. Creating an actual product is another way of measuring it.
So increase practicals in the examination, in the education, and reduce the theory.
No. So don't change the existing system. It's so hard to like even touch that, right? Create a parallel track where if you create 5 jobs, or if you raise 5 lakhs of funding, or if you create revenues for your product, from an engineering perspective, you get a degree.
Okay. That becomes a major and a minor.
Yeah.
I mean, just giving some language.
Sure.
Okay, Doc.
2 things are very important. Instead of supply side intervention, let's look to demand side intervention. That is a major shift. Second, industry cannot be silent spectator. They have to come forward. They have to look to what exactly is the futuristic demand, and then we supply. Demand has to match with the supply.
Okay. Folks, questions? Yes, sir.
I have a question.
He put his hand first.
Right, thank you.
Very
Mr.
quick.
Bhai. Yeah,
No, not you, be behind you. Yes.
I'm Abhishek here. Yeah, the question is very simple. We have NSQF framework in place for the last 3 years, and in fact, the magic wand that you were talking about is implementation of NSQF. Now, AICT talks a different language. Ministry of Skills Development talks a different language. If you want to give a PhD in plumbing, it is possible today, provided MSD and MHRD talk the same language. When level 5 in MHRD is equal to level 5 in MSD, I think we have the magic in place, and we can then give PhD in plumbing, PhD in retail, PhD in whatever. But the problem today is that if you want to give a BVOC degree to a guy who's got level 5 in MSDE, who's got a level 5, he cannot get into BVOC. You know, in the US, if you pass through the community college, you can actually come out of MIT. But in India, if you get into skills, you are stuck there. You cannot do anything from there. So this is nothing. The framework is in place. It's just that the 2 departments need to sit together and come out with a common framework. I don't know why it's taking so long.
Okay, that's a statement you're making, right?
My question is, when will this happen?
Anybody who wants to? You're the only
No.
person, my friend.
Yeah, I have one question to Manish Kardu, sir. I have one question. Do you have a plan to implement the community college system in India?
First, I will go with the first question.
Yeah.
Integration, there is no such thing as level 5 in MSDE and level 5 in MHRD. There is only level 5 in NSQF, and all the departments and all the ministries, they are following that NSQF levels only. The problem is, where the problem comes is that the universities and the institutions, they are more or less autonomous organizations, and what they need to do is they need to recognize those levels. So I agree that full recognition of those levels and credit transfer, that was what I was talking about, from the vocational to, from the skills to the general education, the vertical mobility is there. I mean, if you have done something in the skills in the school and then you go to the higher education, you can get admission into a academic course as well, and vice versa. You can take up BVOC even if you have not done any skills at the school level. That mobility is there, but the horizontal mobility is still a challenge, because you can't say that I want to transfer my credits. I have done this course already. I want to transfer my credits to the academic system or vice versa. So that horizontal mobility is still a challenge. And like I mentioned that this agreement that has been signed between the NIUS and ITI. So that is one model which we are trying out of, for the horizontal mobility and transfer of credits. So more of such such tie-ups or such agreements need to be fostered.
No.
Community college.
Community college, of course, I believe, although I don't have the exact figures, but I believe that the community colleges are already running in the country. About
Yeah, it's running, but it's not like an
I
international
don't
standard.
have a deep knowledge of how they are doing or what they're.
No.
That
That's what he
community college
mentioned.
concept
In
is there.
US, the system is entirely different.
Yeah.
In India, still we don't have a community college act. Actually, you have to induce your education minister to bring that act in India.
Okay, Dr. Pabla, then I'll come to you.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Pabla,
Thank
and I'll
you
come.
so much.
Yes,
It
Dr.
was a
Pabla.
wonderful discussion, a lot of things to learn from the learned speakers. But I had some issues in mind which I thought will be discussed. It's not a question at all. It's just I'm just going to read out in 1 minute the issues which I expected. Maybe they can be discussed in future meetings since you are heading this. I am setting up a skills university, which is going to be a proper skills university, mapping the NSQF, the UGC BWalk, the MWalk, which they have not come out with. Probably I will send it to them, and the PhD level. And there are a lot of gaps between the two NSQF. Though we say that NSQF level 10 will be equivalent to PhD, in some of the meetings when I asked them, what does it mean, equivalent to PhD? Are we going to call him a doctorate and so and so? So he had no idea whatsoever. The things that I was expecting to be discussed here, and these are questions, my questions when I'm setting up a proper skills university in Jaipur. Now, in this equivalence between NSQF and BWalk and the UGC degrees, the number of hours of training, in fact, we just discussed that somebody in 8 years can do what a PhD in 20 years. To get a PhD, you do 12 years of schooling, 3 plus 2 years of post-graduation, plus 3 years minimum of PhD. So 20 years of learning, you are 25 years of age minimum. Actually, maybe 27, you would have done 20,000 hours of learning in actual environment. So are we going to give somebody in plumbing a PhD degree by doing maybe 3,000 hours of learning? There's a lot of lateral learning, there's a lot of general education subjects you need when you're going to be a PhD. So there has to be some sort of a control over this, the NSDC trying to create PhDs of their own, and the UGC has a very well-established system. Their PhDs are recognized world over. So are we going to make them equivalent? The word equivalent very loosely used. So they are not working on the number of years and number of hours of learning that goes into graduation, NSQF level 7. It is something like 12,000 hours of, 15,000 hours of learning. Okay. Are we going to equate that? Okay. And also age comes with it.
Okay.
Okay. So then general education component along with the skills education. It has to be forced. UGC has taken care of it in their BWalk program. 40% of general education subjects will be there. So this NSQF levels do not. Level 7 does not include that at all. Though they have specified some lateral knowledge in that. Then assessment of degrees. Assessment of degrees.
No, I would suggest you meet Manish and talk to him separately because it's very technical.
So I will not discuss, I will just assessment of degrees.
Okay.
Then modular courses, skills courses will have to be modular. Certificate, diploma, advanced diploma, BWalk, MWalk, and multiple entry and exit points available. People can go to the industry, come back in their own time. We don't say that 3 years degree you finish in 6 years, otherwise we'll cancel your registration. Okay. So we allow that. Then lateral movement between the general education and the skills education.
Okay.
That's a possibility. I've been studying a lot into this.
Doc, give a paper, we'll take it up from Vicky.
I think it's better.
I'll come and meet
Yeah,
you with
I think
the
better.
papers are already ready.
Yeah, give us the
So
paper.
I think I've taken a lot of your
Yeah.
time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, come, the lady here, come, please.
Thank you for a very nice session. I am Gagan from National Skill Development Agency, and there are a lot of deliberations going on credit framework. So if we focus only on the skill ecosystem, the SSCs and ITI courses, and we create a credit system for them, they cannot work in isolation until and unless there is a coherence between skill courses and general education. But we speak about credit system of general education, there's still no coherence between credit frameworks of general education. That is, AICT is working at a different level and UGC has a different credit system of its own. So how do we bring about coherence in these between courses of skill and general education and then create a credit system? And this is directed to Mr. Manish Garg. And my second question is directed to Mr. A.K. Srivastav and Mr. Sanjay, since they were talking about outcome-based learning. If we want to give credit on the basis of training, not just for the education a person has gone into, it is very important to base credit on the basis of competency, not just the time he has put in.
Okay.
So how do we define that?
Okay, Manish.
Yeah, of course, this is a challenge because the regulatory bodies that you're talking about, so they have evolved over a period of time, and it will definitely take a lot of effort and a little bit of time also to actually align what you are talking about. And because these are well established, we should agree that these are well established systems. They may have their pluses and minuses, but these are fairly well established systems, and to align them with each other or with the skills framework. So the attempt is to align them with the skills framework so that we can have some kind of a common platform as far as the skills framework and equivalence is concerned.
Okay.
I'd like to add to what Manish has said regarding the competencies. World war competencies are going to be recognized, and then there is international framework, and then there is a system to assess those competencies. So competency believe on doing certain things. It's not only knowing, but the relevant part of knowledge is there, skill to apply that knowledge is there, plus a right type of attitude. Three other components are there. So we go to the international assessors, they can assess. Our Indian system is evolving. It will take certain time, as Manish is pointing out, but it will ultimately match with the global system. So at this time, we are taking the global system into account.
Yeah, output. So we're doing fairly simple experiments. We started with a minor in entrepreneurship, and the way you get a minor is either you study 12 extra credits, which is just time-based credits, or the parallels show practical outcomes in creating revenues, profits, income, or getting a patent granted. So let's assume if you're an engineering kid and you actually got a patent, it's safe to assume you have decently depth of knowledge in that. If you've been able to raise funding and if you've been able to generate revenues from that product, it's decently safe to assume you've been able to engineer that product really well. And to create that framework in place, we are leveraging the whole Startup India action plan, because Prime Minister has been pushing Startup India. These are done at Government of India approved incubators. So it's not misused and abused and raped over and over again, right? So it's done in some quality assurance place, which is approved by Government of India, and you show real world outcomes which anybody can measure. That's it.
Okay, you had a question, quick. No, only one, then two and three. No. I think one and one. Yeah.
My question is to Ashok. As you said that you are hiring near about 50 to 60,000 people in different geographies or states or union territories. I am sure you might be providing for the project duration and in a particular state or a particular region, that how you keep them on the roll, and secondly, how you meet the labor ministry compliances if they are being kept for a very short period, say for 3 months to 6 months. And second question is, for that particular project, if there is a requirement of a skill development, how you meet it in that geographical location and how you rotate that manpower or utilization constantly.
So right now in India, it's not a lifestyle choice for kids to be on my roads. though I have 120,000 employees, given employment to 1.5 million people, aspirationally they'd want to be on the rolls of a company. So employment through team leads is always viewed as a stepping stone for kids. So they come onto the job, learn the skill or get the exposure to the industry and the function, and then move on to another job or another company. So to that extent, I wish I had the problem of, crossing the 240 days criteria and all of that. Normal attrition takes care of that for me. So the law today is that irrespective of the duration of employment, I need to take care of all statutory compliances for the individuals. We drive that on a comprehensive basis. We give an opening balance to kids as an exposure to industry. They leverage that to build their career thereafter. Skill development, we use multiple channels. We have 160 development centers across the country that deliver the training to kids. Like I said, we also have been leveraging the element of technology, the e-learning platforms that we have, because at a distributed volume level, getting them all into a classroom is very difficult. So,
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot for the discussion. I'm Clement from UNDP. You spoke a lot about vocational skills embedded as part of the education system. The fact is right now, Western country and thinking as well much more about non-technical skill to be part of the education system, and especially what they call the 21st century skill, the non-cognitive skill, the cognitive skill and other. It is proven today that there are actually a lot of consequences on the employability and even on the performance at work. Is there any plan by MHRD, World Bank, whatever, on trying to see how we can embed this kind of course on non-cognitive skill as part of the education system?
Shabra? No, Shabra, let Shabra answer, then you can answer.
Well, having non-cognitive skill as a compartmentalized segment in education would perhaps not be the answer. I would see it as a sort of a fundamental base cutting across all the segments. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, Manish would know better, if you look at the qualification packs or even the NSQF, all of it demands that there has to be a component of softer skills and the non-cognitive, which is embedded within the qualification framework that is being prepared. So the NOSes and the qualification packs all have, because when we are now supporting the program, we are insisting that there has to be the softer skills and the non-cognitive skills embedded. And that's the understanding we have from the ministry, that the QPs and the NOSes do have soft skills embedded in it. So
last question. Yeah, last question. No, one last question, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, my question is, sir, if we try to identify the skills at a very early childhood level, we will be more successful in skilling, because it will be by choice. It will be by choice of that student. It will be not by compulsion which we are imposing on him.
You know, there's one social issue that the poor get pushed out of the formal education system because of this so-called young childhood choice. The poor get pushed out more. I mean, it's a very complex social issue, so I don't think we should go there, because till maybe 10, 11 standard, they should not even talk about skills that get pushed out. Otherwise, they all get pushed out.
No, my concern is, if we try to identify it at an early age, I feel we can have much more better results than what we are expecting today.
We should have 12 years of mandatory schooling for every child in India, and after that, skill and all that they can do. Because please remember, they get pushed out. That's what has been happening so many years. 4th standard they get pushed out, 8th standard they get pushed out to work and say skill and all kind of stuff. Anybody else want to say something?
I agree that, but class 9 is a good enough level, I think, to identify whether anyone has an aptitude for any skill. And before that, it should not be a segregation before that or a particular subject. It can be a general exposure to various kind of skills.
See, my concern is only one thing, because normally what happens if we, after doing engineering, he does not pursue engineering.
There's a social issue, I think. It's a very different issue. Okay, come to this end of this very good panel discussion. Please give the panelists a warm round of applause. Shobha, all yours. Yeah, come, Shobha. You're going to take a photograph, right? Okay. You don't give mementos, only a photograph. Come closer, please come. Manish, please come. will be the same. Thank you. You are a good panel. Thank you. Good panel. Yeah, no. Good panel. Thank you very much. Thank you, Doc. Thank you. Okay, so welcome.
कंक्लूडिंग है भाई कुछ तो बोलिए
Please bear with us for another 10 minutes before we break for the dinner and cocktails.
Yeah, folks, please, 10 minutes more, folks. Please sit down. Please sit down, 10 minutes more. Come, Shobha, shut up.
सर
Come, Vijay, shut up. We're going to have summing up by Vijay and a formal end by Shobha. Please sit down and bear with us for 10 minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have been so patient. Now I think you are losing your patience, so we don't want to again keep you burdened. I'm not going to go session by session, but essentially what we wanted to achieve out of this program, we wanted to bring people together. We wanted to bring people together. The audience, the training partners are there, the educationists, the multilateral agency representatives are there. We got here the government, policy makers, so all of us got a chance to interact. Our objective was actually to understand what exactly happening in the skills ecosystem. So we engaged KPMG to study in terms of complete understanding the ecosystem and re-engineering it. So they have given a paper to you can go through. We wanted to understand with the changing technologies what skills are changing, and are we as a nation keeping pace with that, whether in course curriculum, in our training inputs. So you heard all the experts at different stages. So finally, the education and skills integration, like education like building character and skills for testing character. So that also final part, whether it is cognitive, non-cognitive skills, or building a foundation of learnability, the interest to experience, and the experience giving you more knowledge. So all that you heard, I don't want to get into details, but essentially, thank you so much for your patience, and we will wait maybe some more time to get you again on different forums. And I now request Shobha, you can speak a few words and we can invite the team to have a photograph those who contributed to this program. Thank you.
So, well, I don't want to add anything extra to what Vijay has said. I think I want to thank all of you for, being a great audience. And I think all the sessions went off very well. We had a very good lineup of speakers, and the interactive sessions were also very, very meaningful and interesting. Only to the last point, Mohan, I wanted to actually, and you didn't give me a chance to talk. So when we're talking about, how can skill become aspirational, we do have now an opening and I wanted to actually talk to Mr. Manish Kumar from NSDC. You have India Skills and World Skills programs now. So kids who are actually, clearing a certain level and entering the finals or getting the medals, if we can give them a parallel certification, which is a formal certification, like maybe a BA in whatever, in fashion or in dressmaking, anything that will make it aspirational for the society. That was one, and the other thing I wanted to mention was, in Germany you have the Maestro culture. So can we, actually celebrate a plumber who is a master in his skill and give him a PhD in plumbing? Why not? I mean, and these are certain things which can be fast tracked. You can have a certain parameters which you can, judge them on, and then give, and that is what will make skilling aspirational. So that was my 2 bit on the last session. And this entire program would not have happened without the support of our skill committee, which actually, and we chasing our members, Mohan, Vijay, and other members for ideation to actually come up with a program which would be meaningful and different, and which would help in giving certain key points for policy making to the government. And the minister was very clear that he did not want just having ceremonial events, but wanted some meaningful implementation that we could showcase, and also give some key planning inputs. And I think to some extent we have succeeded, but we have to still work and strengthen our own knowledge input to the government. This entire show would not have been possible if my team wouldn't have surpassed their. So very big round of applause to the entire team, and I would request you to stand up so that people recognize you. Praveen Manikpuri, Shiv Shukla, Mallika Marwa, Kaustabi Harit, Abhishek Das, Lakshmi Narayan, Sherry, Bhanu, Sumi, Siddharth, Amar, I can't read the last name, Mansi. So all of them have really been working for the last 2 months, day in and day out, to really make this a big success. Please, thank you so much, and team, please come for a photo op. With this, we close the conference. Outside, we have the cocktails and dinner ready for you, so do enjoy the evening. Thank you.